Have you ever wondered why, despite your best efforts, the books, the seminar, the vision boards, you still feel stuck in the same place? You're motivated, you're doing what you're supposed to do, but nothing really changes. And you keep thinking, why nothing shifted for me? First, let me tell you this. You're not alone and there is nothing wrong with you. My client asks me this exact question all the time. They're not looking for another pep talk or another tool. They already tried those. What they really want to understand is why nothing sticks, why the changes don't last, why the same patterns keep repeating. Here's what most people don't realize. Insight does not equal change. You can understand exactly why you are stuck and still feel controlled by what your body learned years ago. Because the part of you that reacts, protects, and pulls you back is not your thinking mind. It's your subconscious mind and your nervous system. That's where emotional baggage sits. And until that layer is cleared from the root cause, change stays temporary. This is the work I do through Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds. We don't manage symptoms. We clear the root pattern that's been running your reactions. And when that changes, real life changes. They stop doubting themselves. They stop feeling overwhelmed all the time. They stop choosing relationships that don't respect them. They stop shrinking, overgiving, abandoning themselves. They stop making decisions from fear. If you're done working on yourself and ready for real lasting change, message me the word clear. Not so I can show you a method, but so we can look at what's actually been running your patterns and help your system finally feel safe enough to move forward with confidence, to find your voice, trust your intuition, and your ability to choose what's truly right for you in your life, in your business, and your relationships. And if you want to go deeper, listen to this week's episode 91, Why You Feel Stuck Even After Trying Everything, and how to finally break free. This podcast is for the soul who knows there is more, the one who's been carrying it all for far too long. If you're ready to let go of old stories, to stop replaying the past and start living from your truth, you're in the right place. This is your moment to release the noise and reconnect to what's real. Welcome to Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds. I'm Tami Mahmali. Episode 91, Why You Feel Stuck Even After Trying Everything and How to Finally Break Free. Welcome to Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds. I'm truly happy you're here today. As we begin a new year, I want to offer you something meaningful. In numerology, 2026 is a 1 year in 9-year life cycle. That means this is not simply another year on the calendar, but a beginning that sets the energetic and emotional tone for the next 9 years of your life. If you have not yet listened to my earlier episode 88, January 2026 Numerology, what this new year really means for your life path, I encourage you to do so. In that episode, I explain how you can become your own inner coach and develop awareness of how you move forward in your life when you understand your patterns so you stop repeating them unconsciously. And that awareness alone begins to change everything for you. Let me ask you something that many people are quietly carrying inside. Have you ever wondered why, despite your best efforts, the books, the seminars, the vision boards, the affirmations, you still feel stuck in the same pattern, same place? You're motivated, you're doing what you were told are the right things, and yet something does not truly change. You may still wake up with that familiar heaviness. You know what I'm talking about? That feeling when you still wake up with that familiar heaviness and you ask yourself, why has nothing really shifted or changed for me? that feeling can be frustrating and even heartbreaking. I'm really familiar with that, especially when you know you have tried everything already. I want you to hear this clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken, you're not failing, and you're not alone. Because I hear so many people having the same thoughts. I used to ask myself this exact question, and today I hear it from the clients who come to me as well. They are not looking for another motivational talk or another therapy session or another shiny self-help tool. In fact, most of them have already done all of that. They have been to therapy, worked with coaches, and invested in personal development. What they're really asking is why nothing seems to last. They want to understand why the positive changes fade after a while, why the same emotional patterns return again and again, and why old behaviors keep resurfacing. They're seeking something deeper, like to feel better in their bodies, to have more energy and clarity, to communicate more easily, to feel calm instead of constantly activated, triggered, and to finally experience alignment between their conscious intentions and their subconscious reactions. That is exactly what we are exploring here today. If you think about that, most of us want the same things. We want to stop overeating, overreacting. We want to stop distracting ourselves, to let go of procrastination and self-sabotage, and to live with greater self-esteem, self-worth, and emotional freedom. We want healthier relationships, a clearer mind, and the ability to build our lives, careers, and businesses from a place of confidence rather than fear. What most people do not realize is that lasting change does not come from effort alone. It does not come from simply trying harder or hustling, learning one more technique. It comes from alignment, meaning working at the level where patterns are actually formed. And it's from the root cause, the beginning, when all these behaviors, patterns started. Mind-body healing expert Brandy Gilmore, who studies the connection between subconscious mind, the nervous system, and body, teaches that many emotional struggles, physical symptoms, and repeating life challenges do not come from a lack of discipline or knowledge. They come from unresolved emotional experiences that are stored in the subconscious mind. These emotional programs are often formed in our childhood, during moments of fear, stress, or emotional pain. Sometimes they're even carried through generations. Until they are addressed at the root, they continue to run silently in the background of our lives. And that's why I decided to make this episode. Because you know how you try everything, like you can meditate, journal, repeat affirmations, go to so many therapies and listen to all the right podcasts and audio tapes. But if you have unresolved emotional memories that are still stored in your subconscious mind, real change will not really last. You may feel better temporarily. You may experience moments of motivation or insight, when you wake up in the morning and you're like, today is the day. But you're still stuttering when you need to have your presentation, or you're not showing up when you have the test, or you're procrastinating when you need to take the next move. This is what I'm talking about, because eventually, if you have these patterns because you were bullied when you were little, or you still have these unresolved issues because you think you're not good enough, eventually you return to what feels familiar. Not because you're weak and not because you're incapable, but because your nervous system is designed to protect you. Your system does not ask, is this what I want? It asks, am I safe or I'm in danger? Here is what is actually happening beneath the surface, and I want you to listen to that. Your nervous system is constantly scanning for safety, and danger. Anything unfamiliar, even something positive, that when you were younger represented danger, can feel unsafe to your system that learned to survive through past experiences. So when you try to change, something inside you quietly resists. It's still checking if you're safe or you are in danger. You may procrastinate, lose momentum, return to old habits, or even sabotage yourself without understanding why you do that. This does not happen because you're lazy, unintelligent, or undisciplined. It happens because your nervous system learned earlier that staying the same once it's safe. To your subconscious mind, the familiar stuff that you do over and over, even if it's painful, like relationships that you know they are unhealthy for you, but you still stay because it feels predictable, because let's say you were bullied when you were younger, or you witnessed your parents staying in unhealthy relationships. This will feel for you also familiar and safe, so you will still do that. And predictable feels safer than unknown. And that's why you're still staying in the same patterns or loops. I just gave you a relationship example, but there are so many other examples. This is why long-term change does not happen until the subconscious mind is included in the healing process. When your conscious mind wants growth, but your subconscious mind is still operating from old emotional programs that are trauma, fear, hurt, or resentment, it is almost impossible to move forward. It is like pressing the gas while your foot is still on the brake. No matter how much effort you apply, how much money you pay, how many coaches you hire, the system resists the change. This is why people say, I've tried everything, but nothing sticks. It is not lack of power. It is unresolved emotional memories that are still running in the background of your subconscious mind. This is where your bank of memories store the information. And I want you to hear me out. That is why you consciously won't change and still feel resistant to change. That's why you procrastinate, overthink over and over, pull back, or sabotage your efforts. You sabotage yourself without understanding why. Not because you are incapable, because at some point your system learned that staying the same is safe. This is why real change does not last. The subconscious mind is included in the healing process. When your conscious mind wants growth, but your nervous system is still operating old emotions programs, that is survival. I once worked with a woman who told me, Tammy, I do everything right. I tried everything, but I always end up back in the same place. She wanted a healthy relationship, but every time a man treated her with consistency and respect, she would suddenly feel anxious. She will lose attraction or find something wrong with him. So no matter how many dating apps she tried, or how many therapy sessions, or how many times she went on date, she will overthink everything. She will pull away emotionally and eventually create distance without meaning to, because she really wanted to get married or have a serious relationship. Consciously, she wanted love and stability. Subconsciously, her nervous system had learned something very different early in life from watching her parents fighting. That closeness led to disappointment and emotional pain and feeling unseen. Her body associated safety and staying independent and guarded by being single. So every time real connection appeared, her system reacted as if danger was presented, as if safe to be with someone close and have intimate relationship. After a few sessions using baggage began method, we cleared the original emotional memory that had wired that response from her. She did not have to force herself to act differently anymore. She wasn't afraid to be in an intimate relationship with someone. She simply stopped feeling the panic that used to rise when she was on date with someone that really got close to her and had potential. She later told me, Tammy, for the first time, I am not fighting myself. I'm not afraid to be close to someone. I am choosing differently without trying to be fake or someone else. Her behavior changed because the emotional program underneath that was basically trauma from watching her parents fighting over and over, not liking each other, was no longer running her programming. So when those subconscious emotional patterns are finally healed from the root and reprogrammed, something remarkable happens. Change stops feeling like war, battle, unfamiliar. It becomes natural, substantial, and aligned with who you are. I often describe it like removing a virus from a computer. Once the system, the program of the computer is clear, it finally runs the way it was always meant to. People begin to choose differently in their relationships, in their business, in their life. They stop reacting from old triggers. They no longer sabotage their success or freeze in fear when they need to take the big steps. They feel clearer in their minds, calmer in their bodies, and more confident in their decisions because the root of the issue has been addressed rather than managed. This is why positive thinking alone is not enough. Until the emotional memory underneath is healed, motivation cannot override your survival patterns. I see this repeatedly in my work. When the subconscious released what it has been holding, people feel empowered again. They no longer have to fight themselves to move forward. Change feels natural because the internal program has changed. Think of it this way. Your conscious mind is the thinker, the part of you that sets goals and wants improvement. And your subconscious mind is the doer. It runs your habits, the show, emotional reactions, and automatic responses as if it's running the show. It runs your habits, your patterns, your emotional reactions, and automatic responses. It basically runs the shows. There is saying that this conscious mind believes it is in charge, but the subconscious mind is actually driving the car. If you have been trying harder, staying positive, and doing all the right things, but still not moving, it's because your subconscious mind foot is still on the brake. And no matter how strong the engine is, the car will not move until both parts of the system are aligned and synchronized. Psychologists and neuroscientists agree that most of what we do each day is not actually conscious. By the time we reach adulthood, a large part of our reactions, habits, and emotional responses are running automatically from the subconscious mind. We repeat the same behavior and patterns because that is what we learned. That's what we observe from our parents' surrounding, what we saw molded, and what our nervous system decided was normal and safe. Even when we believe we are making new choices, we are often replying to old internal programs. And I want you to have the awareness and notice your own behavior and attachments. I did not always understand this. For a long time, I believed that if I just tried harder, stayed more positive, or worked on myself enough, things would finally change. I even went to 28 years of therapy. I often say it. I hired so many coaches. I read so many books, but they did not, at least not in a lasting way, help me. I worked endlessly. I pushed myself, and yet when it came time to move to the next level, I would procrastinate, avoid, or force on things that were not actually moving me forward. I remember even in high school, I will study for the test for hours, and the day of the test, I will not show up to school. I will just stay home. For me, it started earlier, I think when I was 16. Over time, I became frustrated and burned out not because I was lazy or not smart, but because I felt stuck in a cycle I could not explain to you. It was only when I went through the baggage began process myself that I began to notice something different. I stopped doubting myself. I started taking actions that felt so terrifying to me. I didn't feel stuck anymore in the question of what if I don't know, or what if I make mistake, or what is the point. The best part was that I didn't have to hustle or force growth. I simply began to take action that elevated me, that were exciting, and the growth happened. Research supports this in a powerful way. Studies in psychology and neurosciences show that approximately 90 to 95% of our thoughts, emotion, and behavior come from our subconscious patterns that form in early life. Often during moments of stress, fear, of emotional pain, these patterns were not created to limit us. They were created at some point to protect us. Our nervous system learned what to expect, what to avoid, and how to survive emotionally in the world as it understood it at the time. And now that we don't need it, we want to reprogram it, to clear it from the root and move on. That is why even when you consciously want to change, something inside you still resists. Your conscious mind may want change, but your subconscious mind is still running old programs designed to keep you safe. It is like trying to move forward while invisible part of you is pulling you back. I've seen single men and women who truly believe there was no one for them get married after clearing the emotional program that kept pushing intimacy and connection away. I have worked with clients with PTSD and severe trauma, even cancer, who begin taking action they once felt paralyzed by and started living the life they'd only imagined. I've even heard from a daughter who told me that after her father cleared his emotional baggage, he began sitting on the floor and playing with her children, something he had never done with her when she was growing up. He became lighter, freer, more present, not because someone told him to change, but because the emotional weight that had shaped his behavior in the past was no longer running the show. That is what I mean when I say that the results last, not because you have to try harder or discipline yourself more, but because when the energy runs smoothly, when we release the baggage, the part of you that was holding on to old mental emotional baggage, old stories, beliefs, attachments, and emotional patterns has finally been released, and then the energy shifts. And you don't really need to do anything for that to happen. It's happened naturally. When those subconscious programs are cleared through hypnosis and subconscious healing, you're no longer reacting from the old baggage that you're tired of. You are responding from who you are here and now. And let me make this very simple for a moment. I need visual. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack that you have worn for years. You can learn better posture. You can tell yourself to stand taller. You can motivate yourself to walk faster. But the moment you remove the weight from the backpack, your body naturally stands tall. There is no heaviness. You do not need to try anything. That is what happened when emotional, mental baggage is released at the subconscious level. You do not become a different person. You become more of who you were meant to be before the weight was ever there. And I want you to pause for a moment and check in with yourself. Where in your life do you feel like you're trying, but something keeps pulling you back and you cannot move forward? Is it your relationship, your health, your work, your confidence, or your sense of peace? Do you notice patterns that you understand logically but cannot seem to change emotionally? That is mental and emotional baggage, and it's not your fault. That's our old programming that maybe happened in the womb or generations ago and lifetime ago. That is your subconscious mind, your nervous system asking for healing, not more effort. That's in the heart of the work I do through Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds method. It is not about fixing you because you're not broken. Nothing is wrong with you. You're God's gift. Your contribution to this life, and that's why I empower you. I encourage you to try this method if you cannot move forward. It is about guiding you to release what no longer belongs to you so that growth no longer feels like a struggle and change becomes something you live rather than something you have to hustle and chase. Let me give you real life examples of what I mean because I want this to feel practical and real for you, not abstract. Maybe you know that you deserve a better job, a healthier body, or a deeper, more intimate relationship with others you love. Yet somehow you keep getting in your own way through self-sabotage or procrastination. Maybe you hear that critical voice in your head telling you things that are not even true, And even though you intellectually know better, those voices still affect how you feel and how you act. In short, it is frustrating because you know what you want and capable and still feel unable to move toward it. I hear this so often from people from all walks of life who tell me how good their life looks on the outside, yet inside they still feel poor emotionally, constantly struggling to feel safe, worthy, or at peace, not feeling good enough yet. These patterns usually formed early, as I said before, at a time when you were simply trying to feel emotionally safe, and now you don't need to do that. When you do subconscious work through hypnosis, you are not just talking about the problem. You're changing the patterns that has been controlling you by reprogramming the root emotional experience that created it. Sometimes that root goes back to childhood. Sometimes it goes back to generation, lifetimes ago. But when we release the mental and emotional baggage at its source, your nervous system finally begins to feel safe and something will shift inside. You stop overthinking, you stop being indecisive, overwhelmed, you stop freezing, and you start running and doing everything that you wanted to do. I want to share part of my story with you because I have been on both sides of this journey. Years ago, I was a person who had tried everything. I read all the books, I did everything. If someone said something would help, I probably tried it. On the outside, it looked like I had it all together. On the inside, I was struggling with anxiety, self-doubt, was procrastinating or holding myself back. I would make progress for a while and then I go back, take breaks, feel exhausted. My turning point was during COVID. I had just invested in another coaching program, hoping this one would finally fix me. A few weeks in, I hit an emotional wall and completely broke down. I remember saying out loud, I cannot keep doing this. What is wrong with me? Why I am not getting it? In that moment, something shifted. Instead of trying to talk myself out of it or push through it again, I finally had to surrender. I admitted that consciously I did not have the answer. I became willing to look in a completely new direction, inward, into the depth of subconscious mind. I stopped with the therapy and I realized I need different support, and I went to do the subconscious mind work, and I went through a process, did the mental and emotional release. I began uncovering those deep buried beliefs, patterns, and attachment that I did not know that they were there. One of the first beliefs surfaced that was I'm not good enough and therefore it is not safe to be myself. That was difficult to face. I recognized that it tracked back to my childhood experience where I felt shame for expressing who I am because I was child of immigrants and they used to make fun of me. That's why I started wearing a mask of perfection and overdoing. And when I released that baggage piece by piece, it was not an overnight miracle. It took a few weeks, but it was also a miracle because after 20 sessions, I was a new person. I felt that I can do everything. I felt lighter, I felt calmer, grounded. For the first time, I could sit alone in a restaurant, calm. I didn't have to hustle. I felt more myself, and I believed that change is possible. My habits, my reaction, my posture, my energy, even the way I spoke began to shift. I stopped stuttering. My self-doubt faded. My confidence grew. Opportunity that I used to push away, I started embracing. And that's why I wanted to share this episode, because I know how it feels to have this baggage. And let me explain clearly what makes the baggage begun process different and why it works. This work is not about motivation, mindset, or talking in circles. It's about changing the emotional, mental patterns that are quietly running the show. And that's not therapy. The first thing we do is create safely in the body before real change can happen.
because your nervous system has to feel safe. When you're in survival mode, the brain does not create new patterns. It simply repeats old patterns. So we use grounded tools such as breathwork and regulation technique and focus awareness to calm the system. This is how the brain regains access. Then we work directly with the subconscious mind where the real patterns are formed. So what people experience after this work is not just insight, but real change in how they live. Clients describe less anxiety and overthinking, greater emotional stability. They make clear decisions, healthy boundaries, strong intuition, more ease in their relationships. They feel like they arrived. The truth is that healing does not mean fixing yourself. It means releasing what never belonged to you, all this baggage that you're carrying. When that happens, life stops feeling like a constant struggle. It becomes steadier, clearer. You can share your gifts freely. I believe this kind of healing creates change, not only for you, but your family, for your relationship, for the people around you, for your families, for your children and future generations. When one person heals, it changes the dynamic. It changes how they love, how they show up, and how they raise others. You are going to become the lighthouse. This is the work I am here to do, and that is why this matters to me. I'm excited about it. Before we close, I want you to remember, if you have felt stuck, it is not because anything wrong with you. It is because of old programming. A part of you learned how to protect yourself a long time ago, and that part has simply not been met in the right kind, supportive way yet. Real change does not come from forcing yourself to be different. It comes from healing what has been quietly running underneath, and this happens in the subconscious mind level. You stop fighting yourself. There is congruency. What you think, feel, and do are aligned. You stop repeating the same patterns, behaviors, triggers. You begin responding to life with more calm, clarity, and self-trust. That is what this work is really about. You already have everything you need inside you, God's gift. My work is simply to guide you to remove what is blocking this shift so you can heal yourself. You getting the key to unlock whatever patterns are not letting you move forward. So if something in today's episode resonated with you, do not brush it off. That is awareness, and awareness means you're already moving forward. If a part of you is quietly saying, this is what I have been missing, listen to that. You do not need more willpower. You need a different level of healing. If you found this helpful, I invite you to share it with someone who might need it too. And if you are ready to go deeper and explore the Baggage Began Healing Hearts and Minds method, you're already welcome to reach out and learn more. I would love to hear from you. You can DM me. You can go to my website. You can text me. You can email me. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and for being open to your own growth. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It is about coming back to who you truly are. Until next time, take care of yourself, trust your inner wisdom, and remember, you are God's gift. You're capable of far more healing and freedom than you were ever taught to believe. Until next week, sending you so much love and healing. See you next week.
If you're curious and want to dive deeper, you are in the right space. I ask you to look within for all the things that you want to do, be, and have. Join me at the Baggage Began Healing Hearts and Minds podcast with new episodes every Wednesday as we discover the path towards healing and transformation.